My daughter-in-law snuck a realtor in while I was at the doctor. She whispered the old man won't last long. I came home early. The realtor bolted out the door. The next morning her suitcases sat on the lawn. Family story. I never thought the house I built with my own hands would feel like a place I no longer belonged in. That morning started like any other Tuesday in our quiet street in Maple Ridge, a small suburb outside Columbus where the lawns stay neat and the HOA sends notices if your trash cans sit out past noon. I had a doctor appointment for the lingering cough that had been bothering me since winter. Nothing serious, the nurse had said over the phone, just a follow-up and some blood work. My son Derek offered to drive me, but I waved him off. I still had my license and the old Buick ran fine. Derek's wife, Carol, stayed home. She said she needed to finish some laundry and straighten up the guest room. I remember the way she smiled when she said it, the same thin smile she had used for the past 3 years since they moved in after Derek lost his job at the plant. I told myself it was temporary. Families help each other. That is what I was raised to believe. The clinic was only 20 minutes away. The appointment ran short. The doctor listened to my chest, glanced at the numbers, and told me everything looked stable. He wrote a prescription for a stronger inhaler and sent me on my way. I was back in the car by 10:30. The sky was clear and the air felt good, so I decided to stop at the hardware store for a new filter for the furnace. By the time I turned onto our street it was a little after 11. I pulled into the driveway and saw a silver SUV parked behind Carol's minivan. I did not recognize it. The front door was unlocked. I stepped inside and heard voices coming from the living room. One belonged to Carol. The other was a man's, smooth and practiced. The square footage is solid, the man was saying. And with the market the way it is right now, you could list it high and still move it fast. Especially if the situation with the owner changes soon. Carol's voice dropped. He won't last long. The doctor's been seeing him every other week. Once he's gone, the house is free and clear. No mortgage. Derek and I can finally start over somewhere better. I stood in the hallway and felt the floor shift under my feet. The man laughed lightly. I've seen it before. These old places sit on good lots. Buyers love the character, but they want updates. A few coats of paint and new appliances and you're looking at a nice profit. I walked into the room. The realtor was a tall fellow in a navy blazer, tablet in one hand, measuring tape clipped to his belt. Carol's face went white the second she saw me. The realtor's smile froze. Mr. Harlan, Carol said, her voice suddenly bright and false. You're home early. This is Mr. Ellis. He's a friend of Derek's from work. He was dropping something off. The realtor recovered faster than she did. He stuck out his hand. Pleasure to meet you, sir. Beautiful home you've got here. I did not take the hand. I heard what you both said. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Carol's mouth opened and closed. The realtor's eyes flicked toward the front door. I took one step closer. Get out of my house. He did not argue. He gathered his tablet, mumbled something about a misunderstanding, and walked past me so fast his shoulder brushed the doorframe. I heard the SUV start and peel away from the curb. Carol stood in the middle of the living room with her arms wrapped around herself. Dad, she began. Do not call me that. She tried again. It wasn't what it sounded like. We were just talking about options. In case something happened. Derek has been worried about the medical bills in. You brought a stranger into my home while I was at the doctor and told him I was dying so you could sell the place out from under me. Her eyes filled, but the tears looked more like calculation than regret. You're twisting it. We love you. We just want to make sure everything is taken care of. I pointed at the front door. Pack your things. Tonight. She stared at me as if I had spoken another language. You cannot be serious. Derek will be home in a few hours. We can sit down and talk about this like adults. There is nothing left to talk about. You already said everything I needed to hear. I went upstairs to my bedroom and locked the door. I sat on the edge of the bed and listened to her moving around downstairs. Drawers opened. Closet doors slammed. At some point the minivan started and left. I assumed she had gone to pick Derek up from his new warehouse job across town. I did not care. When the sun started to drop, I went downstairs and made a sandwich. The house felt larger without her voice filling every corner. I ate standing at the kitchen counter and looked out at the backyard I had mowed every Saturday for 42 years. The swing set Derek had played on as a boy still stood near the fence, the wood gray and splintered now. I had always imagined grandchildren using it one day. That dream felt foolish sitting there in the quiet. Derek came home around 7. I heard the front door open and his heavy steps in the hall. Carol must have told him everything on the drive. He appeared in the kitchen doorway looking pale. "Dad, we need to talk." "I already talked to your wife." He rubbed the back of his neck the way he used to when he was a teenager caught sneaking out. "She made a mistake. She was scared. The doctor visits, the cough, she thought the worst. She was trying to plan ahead. By measuring my living room with a realtor while I was gone. She shouldn't have done that. I know. But throwing her out of the house is extreme. We've been living here 3 years. This is our home too." I set the plate down harder than I meant to. "This is my home. I paid every mortgage payment. I fixed every leak. I planted every tree in that yard. You and Carol moved in when you had nowhere else to go. I never asked for rent. I never asked for anything except respect. Today I found out how much that was worth." Derek's face hardened. "So that's it? One conversation and we're on the street? Her suitcases will be on the lawn by morning. You can go with her or you can stay. That choice is yours." He stood there for a long time. Then he turned and went upstairs. I heard low voices through the ceiling, rising and falling. At one point something heavy hit the floor. An hour later the front door opened and closed again. The minivan started and drove away. I did not look out the window. I slept lightly that night. Every creak of the old house made me open my eyes. Around 3 in the morning I got up and walked through the rooms. Carol's side of the closet was empty. Her jewelry box was gone from the dresser. The guest bathroom smelled of her perfume still, but the counter was clear. At first light I carried the 2 large suitcases she had left by the stairs out to the front lawn and set them side by side near the mailbox. The morning was cool and damp. A neighbor across the street paused while walking her dog and stared. I nodded once and went back inside. Derek did not come home that day. He called once in the afternoon. His voice was tight. "We're staying at a motel for now. Carol is upset. She says you overreacted." I heard what she said to that man. I did not overreact. Silence stretched between us. Finally he said, "I'll come by this weekend to get the rest of our things." "Do that." I hung up and sat in the recliner that faced the front window. The suitcases remained on the lawn through the afternoon. Around 4 o'clock a dark blue sedan pulled up. Carol got out, walked straight to the bags without looking at the house, loaded them into the trunk, and drove away. She never glanced back. The days that followed were quiet in a way the house had not been in years. I mowed the lawn. I fixed the loose board on the porch. I cooked simple meals and ate them at the table without conversation. Derek came by on Saturday with a borrowed truck. He moved quickly, taking the remaining boxes and the few pieces of furniture that belonged to them. We spoke only about practical things. When the last box was loaded he stood on the driveway with his hands in his pockets. "I don't know how we got here, Dad." "Neither do I." He looked at the house for a long moment, then climbed into the truck and left. I watched until the vehicle disappeared around the corner. That evening I sat on the back steps with a cup of coffee and listened to the neighborhood settle into night. Porch lights came on. Someone down the street was grilling. A dog barked twice and went quiet. The house behind me felt different now. Emptier, yes. But also clearer. The rooms no longer carried the weight of someone waiting for me to leave them. I finished the coffee and went inside. The living room still held the faint outline of the realtor's measuring tape on the floor where he had marked the dimensions. I swept it away with my shoe. Then I locked the front door, turned off the lights one by one, and went upstairs to bed.